constitutional law expert. Bruce, thank you so much indeed for your time. Just run us through the legality of this sort of order.
Well, thank you very much for having me. The president in the United States, as you may know, is responsible for carrying out the laws and enacting the laws, the executive branch. It's certainly legal for the president to issue an executive order to define how he wishes to enforce the laws. It's up to Congress to change the law to create or craft revisions or modifications to the immigration status. I think now, during the times of COVID-19, it is as though we are at war. While a great many powers are reserved to the states, the power to protect the American people in a similar circumstance to a war is up to the president. I think all the president is doing right now is what's already in place. No one's immigrating. The Immigration Naturalization Services offices are closed. Flights are not coming in. There are no acts of immigration taking place right now. And all this executive order is going to do is to keep the status quo. And let's keep in mind, this is a tweet. We haven't seen the executive order yet. They're still working on it. I am certain that they are trying to craft exceptions that will stand muster, although the anti-Trump crowd always tries to conflate things and paint with a broad brush. As your correspondent stated, generally Trump prevails in court because these are the type of things that a president can do and that, to some people's mind, a president must do. Health and welfare have always been intertwined with the immigration laws of this country, dating all the way back to the very first one in 1891. There have always been questions asked about the health and safety of the existing population and how immigration impacts that negatively or potentially negatively.
I mean, most Western countries, it seems, do need a certain level of immigration just to fill the workforce. And they can be highly skilled, they could be blue collar, they could be white collar. You would have thought that one way that the administration could maybe satisfy the president's demand to protect American lives, which of course he has to do, presumably it could be his primary responsibility, by saying that immigrants coming into the country could spend 2 weeks in quarantine. Why the blanket ban? I mean, you say that there'll be some exceptions, but generally you could see it almost as a blanket ban. That's the way he's presented it anyway.
I think that's right. I think quarantine would have been one of the solutions, but the problem now, from the perspective of the American people, or at least my perspective of what I believe the American people, it is disingenuous to ask us to interrupt our lives, to socially distance ourselves, to effectively quarantine ourselves for months on end. Meanwhile, inviting people into our country, that the act of inviting them in and immigration is antithetical to quarantine and social distancing. I mean, the history of the spread of diseases in humanity has been through immigration, migration, and war and trade. So it is a little incongruous to say, everybody stay home, no one go, all the restaurants closed, all the hotels go out of business, but we're going to invite people over and we're going to keep them in a quarantine place. Oh, yes, and we're going to have to work with them and potentially expose people needlessly to COVID-19 if they come here with that disease. I think the better plan for now is to have the people that wish to immigrate do what the people that live here are doing. Stay in place, stay put, stay where you are. I think 120 days is fair, and I think that this makes a lot of sense from the perspective of the American people. And make no mistake about it, we are the greatest nation in the world because of our immigration, because we are the melting pot. We are the most diverse nation in the world. And we need to keep that in mind, and we need to keep being that diverse. But we can't cast aside the common sense concerns of health and safety in favor of a conceptual idea of free and open borders. No nation in the world has free and open borders. It just doesn't exist. It shouldn't exist, and it doesn't exist anywhere else. It's a concept that's become a political hot button issue, I think, because the Democrats want votes. They think the people that they permit with free immigration will vote for them. That hasn't proven to be the case. Statistically, there's nothing to support that. But it is a hot button issue to attack this president. I think right now we can expect that attack, but let's wait and see what that executive order looks like before we conflate the ban with the details.
Sure. Bruce, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Bruce DelValle speaking to us from Maryland.